Coming up on the Angus Report, an industry leader tells us some lessons he's learned from a lifetime of experience.
Fall calving season is on the horizon. Is your herd ready? We share tips on how you can prepare.
Association dollar value indexes, how you can make the most out of these selection tools in your herd.
And it's Labor Day. We take time to thank all the American Angus Association's employees for their tireless work. This is the Angus Report. Welcome to the Angus Report. I'm Bob Cervera.
And I'm Clint Mefford.
Today, we're talking about lessons and opportunities in cattle genetics. Mark Gardner spoke at the 2018 K-State Ranching Summit last month. He's been in the ranching business his entire life, and he shares lessons he's learned along the way.
When we think about how certified Angus beef was created in 1978, why did that happen? Well, the industry at that time said, you know, we need more choice cattle, let's lower the standards. American Angus said that's not right. And so they raised the standards, they started certified Angus beef, and that was the beginning of understanding and driving a demand-driven market. And it obviously took many, many years, and we look to the 1990s and we look at the lost market share that we had in the beef industry. Why were we losing market share? Well, quite frankly, our beef product was not good enough. You know, 1 out of 4 steaks ate bad, and we had no accountability, and so it was a commodity market. We were the very definition of commodity. So when you look at what certified Angus beef has done, you know, last year, 1,121 million pounds of sales, that's not the cheap stuff, that's the good stuff. And so when we design a product that consumers desire, that's a demand-driven market. You know, I don't want to be the most average beef producer in the world. I want to be the best I can possibly be. And so when we design a beef animal, not only genetically for our customers, but also help them with their commercial cattle, we want to design a great tasting meal solution for consumers around the world.
Are cattle worth more with better genetics? Gardner says absolutely, and he explains why.
We can do things with Angus cattle and all cattle today that were only dreamed of 30 years ago, because these are highly heritable traits that hit the targets predictably, and that's what we want to do. We want to know what they're going to do before they're even born. So they're born alive, they grow fast and efficiently, they can add value-added carcasses, and they can add, you know, cows to the environment that will be very, very profitable. You know, my dad used to talk about it. You go to the old country store and you were going to buy some food. Well, what if that food wasn't labeled? You know, it could be poison. But when we look at what the American Angus Association has with the genetic predictions and the labels on those cattle, it's not for me to say what's best for each operation. They'll decide that. But when we take the cattle with the genetic predictions that are predictably accurate for the traits that are more profitable versus the unknown that at best is going to be, you know, average, there's a huge difference. And the efficiency, the profitability, the opportunity, it's a no-brainer. The question you have to ask yourself, do you want to be a commodity operator or do you want to be a value-added operator? And the answer to that is, in most cases, people that like to be profitable want to be a value-added operator.
Gardner offers one piece of advice for ranchers who begin with good genetics and want to add more value to those genetics when it comes time to sell.
Obviously, if you sell a calf at 600 pounds, you know, pounds pay the bills, quality pounds pay more bills, but I don't have as many pounds to sell as if I take them all the way to the end point, let's say 1,400 pounds. Well, many producers would like to do that, but they don't have the equity, they don't have the cash flow to be able to do that. So, you know, you're never going to be all right or you're never going to be all wrong. So if I have a calf crop, let's say of 100 calves, and I contact a feed yard, they will partner with you, they will even finance you. And so you keep some skin in the game, you keep a partial ownership, you know, whether that's 10% or 50%, whatever percent you choose, they'll finance you, but they're going to take you through that process. And at the very least, no matter what, you're going to learn more about your cattle and how you might improve them genetically. But in general, most economic studies would show that 11 to 12 years out of 15, it is more profitable to retain ownership than to sell those cattle as a calf. So if I have more pounds to sell and more quality pounds to sell closer to the consumer, most of the time I'm going to be more profitable.
The fall calving season is coming up. Caring for your cows now will promote a healthy calf crop and make sure your females can be bred back for next season. It's important to keep tabs on your cow herd's body condition score. The score measures her ability to prepare for the next breeding season and her perceived ability to provide for a newborn calf. 75% of the calf's development happens in the third trimester, and the health of the female in that trimester is critical. Without a healthy female, the calf will not develop properly. The third trimester is also when the calf's lungs develop, and to have a safe birth, their lungs must fully function. Make sure your cows have a high-quality nutrition source when calving, because that translates to high-quality colostrum for the calf. Good colostrum also builds a stronger immune system for the calf. Finally, have clean equipment at the ready to help a cow calve and prepare your facilities prior to calving season to save valuable time. Contact your local cooperative extension office for more information.
Drought conditions are affecting many parts of the country and causing hay prices to skyrocket. Many producers are looking for alternative forages to feed during these dry months. However, the hot weather is the perfect condition for nitrate to build up in common forages. Those susceptible to nitrate toxicity include corn, tall fescue, Bermuda grass, crabgrass, wheat, sorghum, and ryegrass. University of Missouri Extension livestock specialist Heather Conroe shares what nitrate toxicity is and the signs to look for in beef cattle.
Nitrate toxicity occurs when the animal consumes a high level of nitrates. So those nitrates turn into ammonium in the rumen, and one of those intermediate products is nitrite, and that's actually what causes the damage. So the nitrite causes the hemoglobin to become unable to carry oxygen, and so it becomes methemoglobin, and those peripheral tissues no longer get the oxygen that they need with that hemoglobin. So nitrate toxicity occurs when the plants have a high concentration of the nitrates, and then those animals consume a level above where they can tolerate, where the body can tolerate that level. And so plants collect those nitrates. So weather can cause that to occur. Drought stress is one of them. And then, if it rains, you'll want to wait 3 to 5 days to utilize that pasture. Some signs of toxicity in beef cattle include labored breathing, staggering, they collapse, and then ultimately they can die after the levels reach 80% non-carrying capacity. Depending on the levels, it can happen within a few hours to a day.
Contact your local extension office to learn more about forage testing.
Time is still ticking for the 2018 Farm Bill, and legislators are gearing up to make progress. Senate Agriculture Chairman Pat Roberts plans to call the first formal Farm Bill Conference Committee meeting after the Labor Day recess. House Speaker Paul Ryan and Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi appointed members on the Farm Bill Conference Committee. More than 120 agriculture groups sent a letter to Roberts and other Senate conferees asking to support mandatory funding for a national animal disease preparedness and response program. In July, the House voted to approve a motion for mandatory funding for the program, which includes a foot and mouth disease vaccine bank and an animal health laboratory network. The programs would get $450 million in mandatory funding over 5 years in the House version. The Senate version only authorizes funding for the program, leaving Congress to appropriate the annual amounts. Of course, we'll keep you updated as more news of the Farm Bill comes after the Labor Day recess. The Angus Report will be back after this.
Welcome back to the Angus Report. Angus Genetics Incorporated launched a survey to update the dollar value indexes. And now is the time to have your voice heard.
Rachel Robinson has our industry updates.
The National Junior Angus Association Ambassador Program is seeking applications for the 2018-2019 Angus Ambassador. Each year, one outstanding Angus Junior is selected to help promote the Angus breed. The ambassador represents the organization at cattle meetings and events across the U.S. and Canada. Applications are due by September 15th. Visit angus.org/NJAA to find the application and for more information. On January 16th, 2019, the National Western Stock Show Angus Bull Sale will be held in Denver, Colorado. Each year, breeders from across the country travel to the Mile High City to see elite livestock. Entries are open for Angus breeders interested in consigning in the sale. New this year, all sale entries must also be entered at the National Western. Look for more entry requirements on the 2019 entry forms. Visit angus.org to enter your bull and see the revised entry requirements for the 2019 sale. Cameron, or Cam Cooper, of Talon Ranch, loved the land and Angus cattle. Even after she passed away, her legacy lives on with the Angus Talon Youth Education Learning Program Endowment Fund, established with the Angus Foundation. The internship program provides a holistic educational experience by pairing a registered Angus breeder or rancher with a qualified college student for a summer experience. If your operation is interested in hosting the 2019 Talon Youth Intern, applications are open until September 15th. Visit angus.org/foundation for the application and more information.
We check in now on the latest cattle market news with our market update, brought to you by Cattle Facts.
Hello, I'm Patrick Linnell with the Cattle Facts Update. The dog days of summer are upon us in the retail meat case. Each week, the USDA releases meat advertisement counts from retail grocers, and the data gives a glimpse into activity at the retail level. When retail beef prices made their highs in 2014, the number of beef advertisements retailers were running bottomed out compared to pork and chicken. Since then, beef has continually grown its share of retail meat ads as retailers have leaned on beef to drive foot traffic into stores. The latest data shows that beef claims 53% of fresh beef, pork, and chicken ads over the last 3 weeks. As we get deeper into summer, meat demand tends to seasonally soften as the hot days drag on and the thrill of the grill fades. Still, retail margins on beef are strong, and the retail segment appears to be favoring beef to drive consumers to the meat case. In the last 8 weeks, prices for loin and rib items on advertisements have averaged 26 and 21 cents per pound below last year, respectively, while ground beef has averaged 6 cents lower. Beef ad counts are seasonally declining, but nonetheless, featuring activity for ribs, loins, and ground beef have generally been steady to above year-ago levels this summer. Relatively strong featuring activity, coupled with lower prices, should indicate strong beef movement. Other industry sources indicate this appears to be the case, as a high percentage of retail sales revenue has came from beef sold on advertisements. The story is different for pork and chicken. Pork has been featured at average rates for this time of year, and chicken ads are at record low levels. However, the percentage of revenue from ads for both competing proteins is about steady with last year, indicating that retailers are running fewer ads but at low enough prices to be very attractive to the consumer and move large volumes of product. Looking forward, beef and competing meat demand will continue to seasonally soften into early fall, with a spike in demand for Labor Day. As the last grilling holiday of the summer, Labor Day tends to be a good weekend for beef, and beef featuring rates will be a good indication of beef sales and demand for the holiday. For the Angus Report and Cattle Facts, I'm Patrick Linnell.
To learn more about Cattle Facts, your leading source for beef industry market information, visit cattlefacts.com.
Next on the Angus Report, hear from Angus Genetics Incorporated President Dan Mosier.
He tells us what dollar indexes are and how to incorporate them into your herd. Stay tuned.
Dollar value indexes were created by the American Angus Association to help seed stock producers make informed breeding decisions. Dan Mosier, Angus Genetics Incorporated President, shares how to best use each index in your operation.
So let's start with dollar B, which is profit in the feeding phase from the time the cattle enter the feedlot until they're marketed on a value-based grid. There are two components, subcomponents of dollar B, then dollar F and dollar G. And so dollar F focuses on the performance part of cattle feeding and not so much on grid value. And so if you were feeding cattle but selling them on a live weight basis in a cash market instead of marketing them on a grid, then dollar F would be the profit maximizing. So the biggest driving factors for dollar F are yearling weight and feed intake, describing the cattle that are most efficient from an average daily gain and feed efficiency standpoint. Dollar G then adds on the benefits to superior quality grades as well as yield grades. So cattle that have higher marbling EPDs and thus would be likely to sire more prime carcasses, a higher percentage of certified Angus beef carcasses, those bulls are rewarded and have higher $G values. The maternal side, $W, is the profit maximizing tool for the commercial cow-calf producer that sells calves at weaning. And so the drivers there, weaning weight would be a very large, an important factor in $W. Mature cow size is also heavily weighted. And so bulls that sort to the top for $W are bulls that produce or sire heavy calves at weaning yet still produce moderate-sized daughters to keep cow costs in check. Milk is also a component and is designed to be optimal, so milk is both a revenue, because higher milking cows do wean heavier calves and more sale weight, but there's also a cost component of milk as well in terms of what it takes for cow feed resources. And then birth weight's also a component there. When you're keeping replacement females out of Angus bulls, you want birth weight genetics to be at least moderate to not create calving difficulty down the road. One of the most perhaps misunderstood indexes is the $EN value. So $EN is cow energy cost, and it's constructed in a way that higher numbers are greater energy savings, but it's not really a profit index, it's just a cost component. And so cattle that have high $EN values would be bulls that sire very moderate, low size, mature size cows, and also very low milk production. And so those cows have minimal feed requirements, but that doesn't necessarily ensure profitability. Mostly it's a tool for commercial calf producers to match genetics to their environment.
Mosier addresses questions producers have about dollar indexes.
I think sometimes producers will take one of those numbers and think it's all-encompassing, thinking that one of those dollar values really is a sort of total profit or balanced sort index, but they really are segmented and focused towards certain parts of beef production.
AGI is currently working to update Angus dollar value indexes. Mosier shares details.
Angus dollar values have been a very useful and powerful tool for the beef industry, yet we know that we're working with technology that was developed 15 years ago. Since that time, Angus has developed a number of new trade EPDs. For example, heifer pregnancy was not available at the time that $W was constructed, yet heifer pregnancy rate would be an important factor in determining which bulls are most profitable in the ranch situation. And so the primary purpose of this project is to just update those equations and make sure that we're doing as good a job as we can in terms of weighting traits appropriately to predict profit differences under current market conditions. To do the best job we can in terms of weighting traits for profitability, we really need the input of Angus seed stock breeders and their commercial customers. We want to learn more about their production situation, what traits are important to them, and how they weight them in their own sire selection activities. So getting that information provided in a survey format is really useful to us. So we'd appreciate folks taking the time to go to that website and filling out that information for us.
If you haven't taken the survey yet, visit angus.org/survey now. The survey is open until the end of September. Next, Cheyenne Pittman asks association employees how they celebrate Labor Day.
I'm standing outside the front doors of the American Angus Association, where myself and roughly 120 other employees clock in every day to serve its members. We're going inside to visit with some of those employees about what it's like for them to work for the largest beef breed association in the world, what drives them to come to work every day, and how they spend their Labor Day away from the office. We've made our way into the Member Services Department, and I'm sitting with Jamie Boble. Jamie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as Cheyenne said, my name is Jamie Boble. I'm from Central Illinois. I started with the American Angus Association in February, so I've been here for about 6 months, and I'm a customer service representative.
And Jamie, what brought you to the American Angus Association?
Well, I grew up on a farm, so I've been in the livestock industry my entire life. I grew up on a swine farm, though, so most of my background is in the swine industry, and I just thought it was time for a change.
Jamie, what drives you to come to work here at the American Angus Association every day?
Mainly the people I work with. I get along really well with everyone. The staff is amazing. They've made me really feel comfortable since I started in February. I actually didn't know anyone when I got to the association. I didn't have any family around here, so it was a really big deal to me to have everyone welcome me in so well.
Do you have any big plans for Labor Day?
I plan to go back home to Illinois. I'll spend time with my family, maybe drive up to like Western Illinois area and see my sister and her husband and their new baby, so that'll be exciting.
We've now made our way into the IS department, and I'm sitting with Margie Driesman. Marg, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started here in 1967, so I've been around a while. And I got my job here because I was recommended by a high school friend. She worked here, and she was leaving to get her education degree. And so she recommended me. I mean, I was really, really lucky, Cheyenne. I got all my education here. There's my first certificate right behind us there in 1967 from Honeywell Computer. And we had the head of education come and teach us. So I was really, really lucky.
So that would be 51 years, right? Yes. What drives you to continue to come to work every day?
There's so much that changes through the years. I mean, I've been able to work with so many different interesting people, like the young people that we have in the department now. They mentor me on the new technology, and I can mentor them on the history of the association. So it's really easy for me to come to work every day.
So what do you plan to do for Labor Day?
I love to sleep in. That'll be the first thing I do. But I have a float trip coming up at the end of September. My sister and her family, she has 4 children and a couple of grandkids go. And then the spouses of all of them, and my boyfriend Bob goes. Everybody but the cat.
We've now made our way across the office to visit with Brenda Weigert. Brenda, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm the operations coordinator. I've been here since 1994. My job allows me to get to do just a little bit of everything. I never know what kind of hat I'm going to have on when I walk through the front door.
So Brenda, you've been here for 23 years. What drives you to come to work every day?
The challenge. Like I said, I never know what's going to happen when I walk through the door. And usually if I have a schedule set, it all goes to heck. And that's the fun part about my job, is I get to experience so many different things all in one day.
What do you do for Labor Day? Do you spend time with your family?
Labor Day, big thing that we get to do is the Hot Rod Drag Week, where we race our car. My husband has a 1968 Firebird, very proud of, and we get to do that for a whole week. Other than that, I have pets at home that keep me very busy. That's about all I do, pets and cars.
Thanks, Brenda. And thanks to all the American Angus Association employees. I hope you have a wonderful Labor Day.
Wow. We sure have a great team here at the association.
Well, it's one of the great teams in agriculture, and we're lucky to work with them each and every day.
Most definitely.
Yeah. And that's all for this week's Angus Report. We'll return next week at this time for more cattle news and highlights.
Now, in the meantime, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Angus TV, for more from the association. Thanks for joining us.